call to order this budget work session of March 11th. And we're focusing on technology, software, and cybersecurity. Ms. Boucher, will you call the roll?
Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Dubois?
Here.
Ms. Hastings?
Here.
Ms. Higgins?
Yep.
Ms. Meeker is absent. Ms. Minot?
Yes.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
And I'm here.
Great, thank you. Turn it over to Superintendent, Mr. Dunn.
Yep, so we'll first just start off with recapping what you did Monday night, because I figured it would be helpful for you to have that, especially as the paper begins reporting and asking questions. So let me give you an update on the motion. So last night, when you did your motion, you said appropriating $82,872,000. I had you put in that motion that we would adjust the intent of the board. You're not raising 82, you're raising 79 million. That reflected a 16% increase. This is the 12%. I had a number wrong that was in my haste to try to get this for you. I reversed the number. So this is correct, and this is what is posted on the website. This is what your MS-26 reflects. So the motion in the minutes will reflect this correction.
Do you need to re-sign anything?
No, that was just a cover sheet to the document. So we're all set there. Update as far as the work session schedule. This is the work session schedule. We are right now at March 11th. So this is technology, cybersecurity. We had CIA on there and I took it off, but we may just move that to Monday and fix all that. Or if there's a discussion tonight on the iPads. So on the 16th, we're going to discuss enrollments, and we just added this today because you issued bonds today. So I will give you information about that on my next slide. And then you will have the 23rd and 25th, the public hearings. Then you'll have an open session on the 30th, and then we would look to hopefully finalize a preliminary budget on the 31st of March. Okay? So this is the what will be posted on the website if Terry and Bridget have not done that already, but that will be an agenda item for Monday night. That is right from bond counsel, and there will be a number of documents for you to sign. We'll have them laid out around the room. 25 years, 25 coupons, times 9 signatures. So be ready. We'll have pens for you. And not the presidential pens where they do like one letter and then you put it down or give it away. We'll try to have enough for you, okay? All right. For the budget, just as an expenditure summary of where the budget you had asked as far as to see everything, that's where it started. 10.9 million expenditure at 9.56. It is now 32,000 above the current year, or 0.03%. Okay? That's what's posted right now. Not your final, just what you posted.
Could we get a detailed summary on could you just go back so
Yep.
I tell you which category I want?
Yep.
Like a detailed line item on supplies, books, and utilities?
Yep,
I
we're
think that would
going to
be
give you it on
helpful.
all the lines, but we'll also do that.
Yeah.
Terry and I were saying we'll have that up first thing in the morning.
But like what, I would like to know what's in the 1 point. I know some of it is moving things around, but what's in the 1.1 million that
Okay.
we're adding to the
Yep.
budget? And-
Yep, we can do that. And then on the revenue side, we had started off needing 12 million more than the current year, or 11.22%. It is now 1.132 million, or 1% more. Oops, sorry, that must be an automated thing. So in summary, it is. This is the total budget that you had posted. This is all the funds, the general fund, the food service, the grant, and the capital projects for CRTC. It's important to note as it relates to the CRTC, that is, money comes from their trust fund to make capital improvements. That's money raised through the sending schools. It goes into a special fund. So it comes in, goes out, and then you draw on that to make improvements to the program for the programs at CRTC itself. So there's money in there to fund the welding is one of those items. And then as a summary for the tax impact, this was that draft budget, okay? You were looking at $3.80 per thousand increase, or 25.66 on the local. The state is going to stay the same throughout because they tell us the dollar amount to raise. They don't care what the percentage or any of that is. It's just, you got to raise this amount. So you were looking at about a 23.86% increase or a $3.91 increase. You are now at the local rate of $1.78 instead of $3.80 or 12.04. Again, the state rate stays the same. So you're looking at a $1.89 increase or 11.55%. And then I note there of all the ones that are included in that, which was the list you approved on Monday night. And I just did a quick breakdown of where all that portion goes, which is 0.04% of the amount is going towards the 32,000. 0.013 is to make up for, that helps offset a little bit of the taxes that need to be raised because we're getting an extra 9,900. The big one is the reduction in state. You're losing 4.47% that would help lower the tax rate from the adequacy fund. So there's that. And then the other is the 5.27 loss in one-time money out of trust funds. And then the unassigned fund balance we're projecting to be about $1.1 million lower. Hopefully it's more because then we can take some care of some stuff in 27, but can't guarantee that. And I think that's a slide that we don't need. This I already went through with you. I think I am done. Yeah, this is just some hangover stuff from the other night. So with that, I will come out of this, ask any questions before we put on the technology. Good at the moment. So that's the recap of that, and I'll introduce Dan Albert, which is on the right, and Ben Lambert on the left.
Welcome.
CISO, CTO. And I will let you take them, they will take you through the presentation.
Oh, you've got it up
Yeah,
there.
I got it
All
up.
right, never mind.
Sorry. Use the mic.
Yep, sure.
All right.
Yep. So I'm Dan Albert. This is Ben Lambert. You can kind of think of us as software and hardware for the district, our main focuses. So I wanted to start off a little bit about our what we do here and what our staffing supports. So I brought up some quick stats. I was a little surprised by the first one, which was that we're receiving 30,000 emails a day now. This is up from 20,000 from about 2 years ago. We have 8,000 devices connected daily, 60 servers between our virtual machines and our physical servers, 150 terabytes of on-site data storage, 30 terabytes up in the cloud between our Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 environments. We support 400 applications across the district, and we do it with eight IT staff.
Is the 30,000 the actual legitimate emails? How many emails a day are we stopping? Do you know, or is that
Quite a bit of those.
of the 30,000
Yeah,
are phishing?
a lot of those
or
are not. Yeah, a lot of those are not getting through. That includes alerts and all. That's just the total reported emails.
Okay.
Yeah. So for our IT staff, for students, we support about 538 apiece. For staff, we support about 113 apiece, and then for devices, we support about 1,000 apiece for each of us. Our main spheres of work are device management, infrastructure networking, security and compliance, end user supports, instructional technology, and data and systems. Obviously, our big capital expenditures are always devices and maintaining our network and infrastructure. So the big, we would really like to keep our 4-year replacement cycle, obviously. This is going to be a pretty light year for our staff laptops because we did a fairly significant push last year to upgrade all of our devices to Windows 11, as that was deemed one of the biggest security threats we had by our cybersecurity consultants. So we did a lot of work to push us into that, which gives about I think about a 25% reduction on staff devices from last year on our budget. Obviously, we think maintaining these devices and keeping them updated is crucial for cybersecurity and operational efficiency. For Chromebooks, we are on a replacement cycle of elementary, middle, and high school. We replace them at grade 3, and the students carry them forward from 3, 4, 5. Then we do a new Chromebook at 6 for the middle school, and then 9th for the entirety of high school. Obviously, we've got the to maintain our 4-year replacement cycle iPad. Obviously, we will make adjustments to that if we have a curriculum change, but we can do whatever you guys deem is necessary to support the curriculum. And kind of about why we maintain these.
I'm just trying to translate the total cost into like cost per device on the iPads and the Chromebooks. Can you?
Cost per device on Chromebooks is about 360 to 400, give or take.
And does that include the cases and everything you need for them?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the cases and the Google management licenses so that we can manage them, push out policies to those.
And iPads, I believe, are what, 325?
329,
I think,
believe.
yeah, about 370 with the cases.
With the cases.
Oh, yeah, I included cases and then split them out.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, we like to keep the 4-year replacement cycles, not because we like new shiny devices, but because it's what we feel is the most budget conscientious way of doing it. What we see with older devices obviously is increased damage rates and update cybersecurity risks. Older devices sometimes can't update new iPad apps because it doesn't support an older version of the iOS. So what we see is that as devices get older, we have to spend a lot more of the hidden cost on downtime for the person who the device is assigned to, the tech that's assigned to do the device, the parts that go into repairing those devices, and what that relates is that it's the industry standard for replacement cycles is really the budget baseline. Like we save money by replacing them more often, and as you go out farther, the costs and failure rates increase exponentially, creating more costs the longer they go.
I just want to say thank you for including this source. It's really helpful for those of us when we're out in the community talking about it, like having that to back it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
After 4 years, do they go in the landfill? What do you do when you retire a device?
So we use them most of the time. It's really not like for, say, Chromebooks. The high schools requested 150 Chromebooks to utilize their new hall pass system. So what we'll do is we'll take retired devices and assign those to less high priority.
So if this will function, you keep them around as
Yeah.
spares or as,
Yeah, we talked about today, pretty much the Chromebooks, by the time you hit 4 years,
Yeah.
they're worthless. You gotta pay to get rid of them. The only ones that really have value are the iPads.
Right.
And we use that to mitigate the disposal costs, so.
Yeah, I mean, we also use them for, maybe ed assistants that don't use them as much,
Yeah.
or maybe students that have broken a few too many Chromebooks will get one of the older Chromebooks,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, we do utilize all of that and make sure that we get all the life we can out of them.
I actually have a question talking about devices. As far as, do most administration and teachers, do they use Lenovo's? Because I know some of us do and some of us don't. Yeah?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Staff is, we've been finding great value out of the ThinkPads.
Yeah, they're more money, but they last forever. So I
Yeah.
guess that's where I wanted to go with that next, is like, are we finding like they're lasting and.
Yeah, we
those sorts of
had,
things.
I think a few years ago, we bought some we spent a little less money and got some Dells, and by the end of 4 years, the batteries were going,
Yeah.
they were falling apart. So we found a couple extra $100 on the device.
Okay.
Gives us, a lot more life, especially when we're utilizing, the staff laptops go out to substitutes or teachers that left their computer at home for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're finding we're getting great value out of those.
And I'm asking this just for the folks listening at home. I sound like Barb. Thank you for that quote. Also, so Lenovo's, they are expensive, but when we invest in quality technology, not only does it cost us less in the long run, it's also paying less man hours for you guys to come out and fix it, and you could be spending your time or your team spending time somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's in itself an efficiency.
Yeah, thank you.
I requested some network and systems maintenance budget lines this year for, going down the line here, our wireless network, everything is licensed so you can update it and manage it. That license is up this year. So I propose a 5-year license for that because we're not planning on replacing it. The big battery backup in the server room, getting that under a preventative maintenance contract so that it's supported, because if that goes down, then, well, computers work better with power, so. Similar situation with the battery backups that are attached to all the network switches in the district. I'm pushing that out to a 2-year project to kind of split the cost up and get those replaced and improve the monitoring of those systems. Network cabling is kind of throughout the year, there tends to be, I'll go with miscellaneous projects in the buildings. Often it's somebody moved offices and now they need their phone over here, or this, and it was in some area where there was never a phone, or it was a closet, or along those lines. So having funding set aside for things like that allows us to properly install wire and not kind of jury rig it as we go. Patch cable replacement, all the little cables that plug into the network switches, we're finding they're all probably at least 10 years old now, and we're starting to see random failures. So it just kind of setting aside some project money to replace those as we go around the district. That's a big ongoing project because there's thousands of them. Didn't increase the font on that one. Security camera maintenance, we have invested a large investment in security cameras both through state and federal grants and district budget. But in order to keep those systems up and maintained, requires money, obviously. Sometimes it's a device failure and it's out of warranty, or just, somebody recognized that there's a blind spot and they really need to add a camera there. Phone system controller, all the phone traffic in and out of the district goes through this one device, so I really would like to keep it under support. And then our server infrastructure licensed and supporting, and that is the on-premise server cluster that runs pretty much everything in district. So keeping that up to date and having support on it in case of failure is essential, which I believe is in the software line now. So.
And that leads to one of my questions, and it's probably more of a Mr. Dunn question. We have been trying to budget $650 a year for technology and put away. Of these expenses, which comes out of the $650, and where are we? Are we above or under in the $650? At the $650?
So we had budgeted $1,029,000 this year for capital. In that draft budget we presented to you on the 11th, that's what was in there. The full amount, we weren't going to finance anything, nothing. We lowered that amount down to $650, so there's going to be like the iPad financing, the Lenovo financing will be in there. So, but we're staying within that $650. There are years where if we can go ahead, like last year, we can go a little above. And you do have a technology trust fund. of which we're not proposing to touch that, considering the bond and all that. So that's how we manage it. I mean, I have, you may have heard me say multiple times, it's likely 650 is not enough. But where we are for this year is, we're gonna make it work. And fortunately, it's a light, as Dan said, it's a light year.
What's the trust fund balance in the technology trust
A
fund?
little over 800,000.
Thank you.
And part of that was made possible, if you remember, in October of '24, right at the end of all the COVID spend, and then the state had a lot of money that it gave to us, and you put about $8 million away, which is a good thing we did, because otherwise your little 25% would have been even worse than that. We divvied that up among the various trust funds, which again has also helped you in your bond rating. So that's how some of that money got in there. Okay? Good.
Do we have any BYOD programs or like, no, right? And there's no like second devices?
Currently, no.
Okay.
Doesn't mean students,
Oh, I meant for you,
yeah,
like for
no.
faculty, administration, teachers. Okay. Cool, thank you. Yeah, no, students.
You can add a little bit about how we manage the BYOD or people that come into our network from a security standpoint and that kind of
Not
thing.
for like internet access, like,
Oh, yeah, where, I mean, you run athletics, people can come in, there's a guest network. Ben can explain how where that traffic goes and how we manage that.
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
She's talking about a program that basically incentivizes people to use their
Use
own
their own device.
devices
Yeah.
as opposed to us buying.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you can speak to the BYOD days of investigating that.
We're good.
Yeah, I would see that as a gigantic security risk.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's-
we keep our devices pretty locked down.
Okay.
We see a lot
Good enough.
of, on teachers that use personal phones. We see a lot of
Yeah.
Stuff you don't want to see.
sign-ins,
No,
yeah.
In the spirit of saving money, that's a risk that would expose
Yeah.
us to a lot of
Yeah,
money we
yeah,
don't want to
huge
lose. So I
risks,
just
yes.
wanted to. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so,
Also, personal information can happen on a server if you bring your.
There's programs, so like I'm in a bank, so there's programs where it keeps it internally,
Right.
but it's still,
One more thing to worry about.
Yeah.
so these are our current software projects. These are kind of the changes we had to our software budget line. It's otherwise remained fairly static, so I wanted to highlight these items and why we're doing them. The first one is switch to ClassLink, which is an automation platform that's going to, we automatically create student accounts right now, but we're manually creating staff accounts, and we want to automate that entire process into a single middleware system that will also allow us to roster all of our staff into all of their software automatically. It's a huge time suck for us right now to do that manually. So implementing these systems will really be a big time saver for us that will help us focus more on cybersecurity and help teachers get into software, without having to ask us to request it. We'll have automated systems that look at their position and put them in the right piece of software. So we think it'll be a big boost to efficiency district-wide. We also have some money in the software budget for AI development. We've been pretty wary about AI adoption up until recently. Obviously, we haven't been pushing out anything without checking with the board first. So as we have been moving forward with that policy, we're looking to next year to start doing some AI implementation through the schools. One of our big projects is to leverage AI coding techniques that allow us to build small programs that do small things that can help save small amounts of time for people across the district. Building automations in for scanning forms or doing mass imports for us for Google device reassignment, those kind of things. So we're building an internal platform where we can kind of build these micro programs and deploy them inside our own network in a safe environment using code review and security mechanisms to make sure, to make those little programs accessible to us in a safe and organized way. And then we also, as we've been exploring all of the AI tools that students can use, they're all great and they all kind of do the same things. I think we're learning a lot as we go. Our big goal would be to have our own local LLM that we use on site so that we know that when students are entering data, it's not getting shipped off into the cloud where we don't know what happens to it after that, because I don't think many people really understand what happens to that data once it gets put inside those systems.
Would that also allow you to put flags that would send an alert if a student searched something related to self-harm or?
Yeah.
Because I know that's a big concern with AI chatbots.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, we're going to leverage agentic AI to create little agents that will parse student data to make sure we're putting those guardrails in place, and students are not just not Googling bad things, but making sure they stay on task, and then making sure we get reporting if there's anything that we need to be
Concerning.
looking at. Yeah, and we think keeping that locally will solve a lot of the problems we have around the implementation of these systems, knowing that our data is safe. So that's a big goal for us. And honestly, 8 months ago, we wouldn't have even thought this was possible, but the field is developing so fast. The things we've been able to do and we have this spun up, and it took us a couple of weeks. Obviously, we need to take the time to really make sure those guardrails work and do the testing, but all we really need is a little more horsepower to get it so that multiple students could use it at the same time, and then do the testing to make sure it's safe. So that's a big goal for us. Mosel isn't really a budget ad, but I am putting it in here because we've been doing a lot of work to switch all of our iPads over to a new mobile device management system that's a little more modern for all our Apple devices. So it will kind of affect how we proceed on that project as we make the decision on what we're doing with curriculum for the iPads. And a lot of these software projects are really geared towards helping us address our biggest concern, which has been cybersecurity. We attend quarterly meetings where a group of state, municipal, and K-12 directors go over all of the attacks that happened that quarter across the state. We pretty much always leave with an existential crisis by the end of those meetings. So it's a huge focus for us, and the biggest part of that is getting more time for everybody. Not just time for us to investigate things, but time for everybody else to read their emails a little more carefully, make sure they're not signing in, checking with people about things they may think are fishy. Just time is the biggest bonus we can have for improving our cybersecurity. So we're seeing ransomware, business email compromise, and data breaches as our top threats. The biggest of those is obviously phishing campaigns where users enter their credentials. We're also starting to see bypassing MFA with some of these more advanced ransomware attacks, stealing MFA tokens out of your browser. We've had a few of those happen this year in the district where user accounts got compromised with MFA tokens getting compromised at the same time.
An MFA token, can you explain that?
Sure. So multi-factor authentication.
Okay, right.
Yeah, when you get the pop-up on your phone,
got it.
you can steal those off of the phone with some of these new systems. So while MFA is certainly preventing a ton of these from happening, some of these new attacks are getting so good that they're even getting a hold of those. So it's just another reason to increase vigilance for us.
Yeah, big time.
I think we've had 8 user accounts compromised since January. 4 of those involved MFA tokens being stolen. So we're seeing 3 main groups of individuals that are launching these attacks. You've got ransomware groups, which you can kind of think of as organized crime. They're compartmentalized groups that you'll have one group that will get the compromised credentials after a phishing attack stolen the information. They'll sell it to another group who will use those credentials to log into your system and compromise your systems and put ransomware in there. Once that's done, they pass that off to a broker who will contact you or you contact them, and they'll start the negotiation for how much money they're going to try and charge you to get your data back. These are very complicated networks. We're seeing a few that are operating in the space. They operate on different cycles. Like there's certain times of the year where they try and target AP and steal, get fake checks, and then there's different times of the year where they'll do recruiting, and you'll see big attacks on major infrastructure. So it's very interesting, but it's also terrifying.
How do we deal with, so we experienced this with Power School, and that they had essentially left a giant backdoor open, and that their credentials got stolen, by a contractor, and there goes, and luckily we didn't have a lot of really in-depth student data on there, but how are we vetting, to the extent we can, the people we're contracting with and their cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think it's been eye-opening because we use the tech, the SDPC. It's our Data Privacy Alliance. So we get a data privacy agreement that lays out all the liability of who does what, and they have to maintain SOC compliance, and we give as little data as possible. It stores as little data as possible for what needs to be done. I think we're understanding now that these agreements maybe don't hold as much water as we hope they would when it comes to remunerations from, say, the Power School incident. I don't think there's unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of leverage that we have against these big companies. It's something I think that really would need to happen on the national level, so that we would, there'd be people going in and investigating these things and actually coming down on these people when these don't happen. But yeah, all we really have is litigation that's backed by our thorough liability agreements with these companies, to the extent that we can execute those. But so what we can do is put as little in those systems as we possibly can.
One other thing, and this is not on your side, but on the other side of the house, which is, we might want to start thinking about how we educate parents about freezing their child's credit early, because often what happens is the information gets stolen, and the kid doesn't find out until they're 18 when they go to apply for college, or, when they start to use their credit.
Yeah, that was my next slide, actually.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, great segue. Thank you for the setup. But yeah, so obviously schools are a huge target for these attacks because we are data-rich environments. We, for instance, we don't collect Social Securities in Power School, but they do exist in our system for some specific instances that we don't necessarily need to discuss in public. But it does exist, and obviously we're unfortunately, our IT staff in schools typically is much lower ratio. Where in enterprise you see maybe one IT person for 25 staff, as opposed to our 1 to 120 staff, or so. We're data rich and working hard with what we have. So we're a big target, unfortunately. So, obviously, we see huge impacts from these ransomware attacks, and we're really doing our best to try and prevent these from happening. We do another software ad we had this year was we have some phishing within our Microsoft suite, which we're getting great value of, but we've got a small ad in there for K-12 focused cybersecurity training that also has a student component into it and some student programs. We've got a little money in the current quote. If that gets approved, that would also expand those student program pilot, and we could look into improving the education for our students in those areas as well. I think looking forward would be a great use of our resources.
Is that your?
That's really all I have.
So, for board members, obviously, there's a line of how much we want to talk in public about our cybersecurity efforts. We can go into non-public. We have also talked about, I'm doing both physical and cybersecurity briefing, non-public briefing for the board in the spring once we get past the budget. So that is on the horizon. So, if you have any budget impact questions, let's ask them now. If anyone would like to go into non-public, please let me know. The part of the budget is more on the instructional side, which is where we've been talking about whether we want kids to have iPads at such early ages and whether we want to be a one-to-one district. And I know that was an instructional thing, and Ms. Yarlett is here, so we could perhaps do some of the curriculum and instructional tonight, too, if folks don't have additional questions on this.
I just wanted to really say thanks for the ratio piece there, because as we all know, we've been personnel has been one of the biggest topics of discussion when it comes to this budget, and seeing there that ratio that there is one IT staff member for 538 students, that really puts it into perspective for how hard you all work and for how valued to the district you all really are in your roles. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much for coming this evening, and I look forward to talking to you some more in the spring about cybersecurity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody's wondering, boys are up 6-0.
6-0. Ooh.
It's become a chippy game, I'm sorry.
A chirpy game, you're saying?
Keep 'em off his
Chippy.
chain.
Chippy game.
Okay.
The updates keep flying and 6-0.
exciting.
Oh, yeah.
You're all set?
I'm gonna let Kim just find her presentation.
Okay.
so you
I
can
went to
address
see
that.
Oyster River against
I'm gonna
Berlin
give you
yesterday
this.
because I was
Yep.
here, and a
Walk
friend of
them.
mine's daughter's on Oyster River. Oyster River, Portsmouth won 6-3, and it was a really great game to watch.
What are the finals if they get
Saturday.
past tonight?
Saturday.
At
Yeah. in Southern New
Who's
Hampshire.
Concord playing now?
Wyndham. And
Southern New
Hanover's playing
Hampshire
Bishop
at not at the university, at the
At the
old the
rink,
Verizon. So I can't keep track of the names.
What it's called, yeah, because it keeps changing.
That might be a fun Saturday adventure. You know what? My hockey player doesn't like watching hockey too.
No?
He likes playing, not watching. I mean,
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Probably gets anxious.
Like
He wants
playing.
to be out there playing.
But I think that we might go with some teammates to that, yeah. He went last year when it was the 4 overtimes. It was insane.
Oh, because Winston passed away, I'm like a third dog. Yeah, but I mean. Oh.
So on Monday night at the instructional committee, I did two presentations. One was I had been asked to determine what the minutes per day, per week on iPad usage for grades K-1. And so I had sent out a survey to the principals and had the digital learning specialist look at that. The other presentation I did was on the CIA budget presentation. So I'm assuming this is what you'd like me to share with you right now.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was that or if you wanted to do your regular curriculum and instruction, either one.
Which would you prefer? It's fine with me. You saw both on Monday?
Well, since we're making a decision on, we're being asked to make a decision on the iPads, let's start with
Okay.
that one.
So I am meeting with the principals tomorrow afternoon to make a final decision and recommendation to the board by Friday, which we can discuss on at Monday's meeting.
Okay.
So in looking into what the iPad usage was, the principals and teachers provided this executive summary, feeling that the iPad usages were purposeful, limited, and developmentally appropriate at kindergarten and first grade, that they support individualized learning, small group instruction, accessibility needs, meaning of maybe a student who has a disability who might need to access an iPad for communication purposes or for demonstrating their learning. They think that the current usage levels are appropriate and that it's used as a supplemental tool, not replacements for hands-on instruction. So that was the response that we received. It's not consistent, I have to say, with what the research says. So I just have to share that. So at the kindergarten level, this is the last year of using Lexia, which is a reading program that supports gives students individual feedback about their reading progress and is adaptive, but we had decided last year to remove it from grades 3, 4, and 5, and starting next year, remove it from K1, 2, and there's lots of different reasons for that. One was the overusage of it. So, for example, a student might be using Lexia to do some reading while a teacher is having a small reading group. And it's questionable whether or not that's necessary. The other piece is that it's expensive, and the other was we are looking at an adoption of a new English language arts program, which would have built-in software that would support student learning. And currently in our math program, they have what's called a learning pathway, which is an adaptive lesson that a student would do for like 10 minutes a day after completing a math assignment. They'll go into an individual learning pathway, which would say it's standards-based, and it will suggest to the student these are the areas that you would need to work on. So Lexia is used at all schools right now, but as I said, will be eliminated. iReady is what I just referred to. That's the math pathways. One of the things in looking at this slide that was so appropriately pointed out was that there is a difference building to building in terms of some of the software that's used. So you can see that Beaver Meadow School listed some software items that other schools don't necessarily use. And I'm not familiar with all of them intimately, but I'm working with IT to identify what those software programs do and what their purpose is, and is there another way to meet the goals to not have students on iPads.
Are these numbers what is self-reported, or do the programs similar to my iPad will tell me how much I've spent online? Do the programs tell us, or self-reporting?
This is the report from the principals.
That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah, but where are
Can
they
the
getting
programs?
numbers from? Are they
Yeah,
asking
do we-
teachers?
yeah,
They're
do we
asking
know
teachers, yes,
So
they
they're
surveyed.
necessarily looking at the iPads to see the actual.
Well, or
usage.
they're self-reporting, they're just saying, we've been about 15 minutes a day.
Because I know when I'm on my internet, it feels like
It's
5 minutes,
always
but it's been
5
like
minutes, right.
It'd be interesting
Yeah,
to know actually how much.
Can we do that? Can we pull it? I'm sure Lexia has a
Sure,
program we
IT
could pull
can do
from
that,
that.
yeah.
Right? Where's our IT?
In their free
They
time.
left already.
In their free time.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
That would be
Yeah,
an
that would be,
interesting number to
right.
An actual device.
How accurate.
Really like to see that. And I'm not saying like prevent me wrong. I just because
Well,
it's easy to get caught up in.
I think something that would be easy to do
Yeah.
is look how much a device is in use, and you could probably tell from the
Yeah.
usage time, you know, if they're one-on-one devices or if it's like a cart where the class has it for a period of time. You'd be able
Yeah.
to identify approximate.
There's got to be.
Yep.
It's got to be baked into the program that we have with Apple. Absolutely. Thanks, Tom.
But also, I don't see broken ground on, is broken ground on this?
I was
Well,
just asked to look
continue,
at kindergarten and first grade.
Oh, okay. I see.
That's second? We didn't look at second?
I did not look into
They
second.
don't have second either.
Right, I know. I'm
No,
just-
right.
So at first grade, this is the reported usage. At Abbott Downing, they've stopped using Lexia at first grade, which helps with the removal of screen time. And you can see the range right there of minutes per day.
I'm sorry. How much instructional time do students in these grades usually get per week?
Sorry.
On average, how much instructional time do these students receive in school per week? Like, I'm just trying to like, if let's say it's an
What
hour
percentage
today.
of the day?
Or I just how much
Percentage of their instructional time does that
Yeah.
represent?
It's like
It's
how
a-
many
it's
hours per
approx-
week are kids
it's-
usually in the classroom?
It's approximately 5.5 hours
A day or week?
a day.
Okay. Thank you.
These are some of the apps that were being used, and as I mentioned, I've been looking into these and having digital learning specialists and principals provide more information about why these might be necessary. So how they fit into the school days, they report that center rotations. That means the teacher has a small group and students are maybe moving around in different activities. And one of the activities would be something that's on the iPad for 15 to 20 minutes in a school day. That often happens in literacy centers, and in math centers, maybe 2 to 3 days a week, they might be accessing their iPad. And again, that would be pertaining to that iReady learning pathways. And then sometimes they're used for, a brief motor break or songs. Based on the survey, the benefits they reported, it allows them to run small group activities and have the students doing some learning on their own. They can maintain quiet work periods for students, offer immediate feedback through adaptive apps, and collect real-time assessment data. Math applications I already went over. That's part of those math activities. The support for neurodivergent learners, I mentioned earlier that some students may have this device per their individual education plan, and those obviously need to be maintained, and that would be through the use of an iPad. This was the proposed budget. It is a lease program, but we own the iPads after the 4 years of lease.
And what do we do with them afterwards?
So it really depends, because either they're not able to be used anymore, or they would go to the digital learning specialist and they would use them for some STEM activities.
We've used them for like loaners. If again, earlier the IT gentleman shared older devices will be, if they're in decent shape, we use for loaners. We've used them for the Smart Pass at the high school, as well as I've seen them use a Smart Pass in other schools. But we use them for devices that don't require a lot of work on them or downloading of a ton of apps. Something that's very basic use for a short period of time. But Jack mentioned earlier, the iPads have a bit of a return on sending them out, and they can be repurposed, and we use that return in order to offset the cost of disposing of Chromebooks, which don't have any return for getting rid of them.
And so when we're done with the Chromebooks, do we toss them? I mean, what happens to them?
Call an environmental friendly company that comes and takes them, and we pay to distribute them.
Every 3 years?
No, as we said, we try to use them until they're worthless.
Yeah.
Maybe you were hearing them
But
say they might use it.
Students get new ones every 3 years?
Yes. Yeah.
But, so when they're done with them in the schools, they may go elsewhere in
Like
the.
you said, like they might be used for the hall pass.
Yep.
They might be used as a
It's a lot of
loaner.
Chromebooks though that are
Yeah.
sitting around.
Yeah.
But
When,
well, the high school are 4 years.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
middle school like 3, and I bet most of them are trash. But into
Yeah.
the 3.
You also find
Don't
that
make it longer.
the devices that go home, which at the middle and high they do, are devalued much faster than the ones that stay in the building.
Are we saving money on text and stuff by doing this though? I'm just trying to think like, or do we use any of this for reading? Like I remember getting a big old social studies book back in the day, like,
We don't buy.
Sure.
right, and 'cause that had to cost a lot of money, just.
I get. I
Used
mean,
them for 20 years until they were.
there you go.
Information wasn't
Until like they were outdated. You're like, wait a minute.
Until Pluto wasn't a planet anymore.
Union doesn't exist anymore.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, here you know you have an annual payment, whether it's a software subscription or a device. There's going to be something annual.
So this isn't really the full
Typically,
cost of the subscription.
Yeah, well, the iPad, well, this would be a lease, but I'm talking then you have the software that's on there. There's no such thing as free. And typically, you're looking on average every year for software subscriptions or updates, 5 to 8% increases. That's typical,
Just in there.
just for software renewals, yeah. And some of them are apps that you buy once and they're just on the device. So, okay. And some are subscription. Like I saw Pebble Go and Board Maker, no, they're
Book
they're
Creator?
book. Yeah, we pay for them. I know Book Creator's like 8,200. Pebble Go is like $7,000. But, yeah.
Those are the things that we need to look at as well.
So the proposed budget is the addition of all of those rows, so that's $225,000 for 1 year of iPads and accessories. Am I understanding this correctly? When I add 47, 86, 5, 45, and 42, is that the total budget for 1 year for iPads all in?
Yeah, if you add all 4 columns up, yeah, that's the lease broken out. That's why
So-
you see it in even payments. But yeah,
So 225,000 a year, okay.
no,
No,
For 3 years.
for 3 years.
No, not the columns, the rows. So I'm seeing, am I not understanding?
47,813.
So in FY '27, proposed budget amount is 47,813, 86,63, 5,000, 45,000, and 42,000, all of that together?
That doesn't go with what
That's
is
what
in
I'm-
here, which was about
That's what I'm asking, like, what are we?
64,000 a year for iPads if we were paying them, is what's in this budget, what's in this presentation.
and I know that's the lease cost. All those added up is the lease payment.
Right, I understand
That's
this
a
way,
lot
but
more
I'm,
though than what we've got.
Yeah, when you go down.
I'm adding the column
Yep.
fiscal year '27 proposed budget amounts.
Yes.
That's the cost per grade level. And this is where we
So
had a really.
225?
Would be the total,
Going
if
down.
that's the cost per grade level, and we're doing all of those in '27 is what I'm
That's some teacher positions.
trying to understand, yes.
It would be, if we're buying for all of the kindergarten and first grade, it would be $182,000 using this year's.
Kindergarten and first?
Yeah.
And
For ye-
second.
If we're buying everybody, but they're on a
Oh, I think
4-year
she's just pulling
cycle,
the
so.
numbers.
I know, I'm looking at enrollment.
Yeah, we can pull out second. This is
Well,
the
we wanna pull
discussion.
out second,
Yeah.
though. I mean,
And second would be another $98,000 roughly based on the cost we had.
and have K-1, 2 have maybe the learning digital specialists have a set that they can bring in and work with students on, but they wouldn't be necessarily in the classroom.
So one of the robust conversations we had on Monday night was we need to look at cost and efficiency with cost. And we also need to look at research and what does the research say about students' screen time developmentally at those young ages, which is very significant, and there's a lot of research out there. And we need to look at purpose. And one of the areas where there is purpose is, which I can validate, are the assessments, the needs for assessments that might take an assessment 3 times a year to measure growth over time. We use them for assessments such as Ames Web. We use them for assessments for the iReady program for ELA and for math. So the conversation we'll have as a group is, can we go away with just with carts? So currently, kindergarten is a 1 to 3 device for every for every 3 kids, there's 1 device. For first and second, they're one-to-one. So the conversation we'll have is that really necessary to have a one-to-one device?
So
Could we
you'll have a
cart-
recommendation for us Monday.
I'll have a recommendation based on what the conversation with the principals.
And then, Ms.
I just wanted to quickly add, the opinion of teachers is quite different than the opinion of the administrators. And the overwhelming response I've gotten from teachers, both some that were here the other night and some that have reached out via email and phone, is that the kids can go home and play on iPads all day long, a lot of them, that they really feel that in school, for what they need to use them for, they're not necessary. That, yes, they need to get ready for Chromebooks in 3rd grade, but they'll all learn the Chromebooks in 3rd grade, and that having an iPad per student is a huge waste of iPads. That's really the general, and that's coming from teachers. People over plastic is kind of their mantra. So I agree. We need the assessment piece is valuable. A lot of what we do with the iPads is valuable, but does that justify an iPad in the desk of every student in kindergarten and 1st grade?
I think that'll be a great conversation that we have tomorrow.
Perfect.
And I think separate from that is, this is a relatively lower year for technology needs, so I'm not sure that I would say okay, we'll cut the technology.
And I'm not saying
So
that.
it's almost, I'm just saying that, so it's almost 2 separate discussions.
Correct.
One that doesn't have to be solved with the budget.
Correct. And one,
Which
yes.
is, if we believe that we should try and keep our technology budget level to try and avoid the spikes, that's one decision. And then the other decision is more the educational policy decision of, do we think we should be have so much technology? I even question whether we really should be giving how much students benefit from assessments, and what students benefit or are hurt by assessments on devices. I think my kid does a lot better on paper because it forces him to focus as opposed to I get to press the button and go forward. But, I'd be curious what the research says there, and the state might not give us any choice, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But
It will be for when, and you're right, we're not gonna next year, cut them all. It's gonna be a process. It's really important to me that we do hear from as many teachers as possible.
Yes, thank
So
you.
when we're out there, I don't wanna hear from just one segment of folks. I don't wanna hear from just principals. I wanna hear from folks on the ground. So however we get that conversation is important.
And the survey I sent out, it was asking principals to survey their teachers.
Okay.
So that's the minutes that came back to us.
Yeah. If we go directly to teachers, I think that may, let's hear straight from the people.
Yeah.
But for board members, I think the question is, are you looking at this as a policy issue? Or do you want to cut the $650,000 that we put aside for technology?
To me,
Technology is a lot more than the iPad.
to me, we need to do the right thing
Right, yeah.
for our students' learning.
Yes.
If that happens to also save money, that's a great
Correct.
secondary result.
I think in the long run, the 650, as Jack is pointing out, probably still doesn't meet our technology needs. So I'm not I would rather keep the 650
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
here
we shouldn't.
in our budget and then have this policy discussion.
We shouldn't do it
separately.
thinking we're doing it for the budget and it's going to solve a budget problem. I think we should do it if it's the right thing for our students' learning, and it may save some money or save
Which is,
the
I
number
think,
of devices
Or
we're throwing
allow us
away.
to
Or,
invest more in security
Yes,
rather
exactly.
than devices.
Right.
Or
There
not
are
have-
other ways to spend that 650.
Right.
Right.
If we can add 200,000 more from not purchasing devices.
Keeping in mind too, from a teacher's perspective right now, where they're worried about jobs being cut, the two become very intertwined with each other. Philosophically speaking, I think the group of teachers I spoke with philosophically think they're not necessary or not as necessary as one-to-one. But they also tie that right into
I'm being replaced by a
being
machine.
replaced by a machine.
I can say, from my experience as a parent, my kids loved Lexia. They love reading books on Epic. But that doesn't mean they need a one-to-one device, right? If there's a cart and they get 20 minutes of usage of the device, they can do those things anyway.
And there are still districts right around us who are not one-to-one, even at the high school level.
This is definitely a spillover from COVID when we had one-to-one devices, and it's so perfect timing to look at this from, as you mentioned, a philosophical point of view, students' developmentally appropriateness for them to be using devices, and as well as a cost savings. So we'll be prepared with a recommendation. I did have Dan do a.
Ms. Sadowski has a
There's
question.
also an environmental impact.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I did have Dan do a cost projection for one-to-one full replacement versus one-to-two shared devices, and maybe, I would maybe even recommend a one-to-three to the principals. So I'm not going to make that recommendation yet to the board because I really want to hear from the principals.
Yeah.
I would look at second grade too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the replacement cycle.
So that's the end of the presentation.
Awesome, thank you.
I don't know if you're prepared tonight or if you wanted to go over the new education programs that you're proposing be purchased this year, or you want to wait to one of our other evenings to do that?
I'm happy to do that.
We did talk about those as well on
Yeah.
Monday evening, and it sounds like the ELA, the language arts,
Yeah, I just want to make sure, we haven't talked about it in a budget context yet, so
Are these in our folders?
I don't know
Yeah,
if
these
these,
were the packets the other night. We got
From
big
instructional.
paper packets.
but we might not
we
all
can
have.
get them to you,
They
yes.
might be in the instructional folder.
Okay, just.
That's right, it was instructional committee. I
Yeah.
keep thinking it was budget, like,
No.
wait, I heard this
It was the
already.
same night.
That's right, I'm like,
So I have a much more robust presentation about the why behind these curriculum recommendations. Much more robust, which I can do. Look at that date of that, that's interesting.
Well,
I'm gonna get off this
assume- I mean,
page.
there's two things. You're gonna have to come to the board for approval for the program. But we've got to figure out what we're putting in the budget and where
Sure.
we're putting it in the budget. So I think just doing the budget
That's fine.
aspects, we did take away your night last week, I think, because we had to do so much, so I'm like trying to squeeze instructional items in here.
So I just wanted to briefly share some of the accounts that fall under the CIA, Curriculum Instruction and Assessment categories, and Jack, jump in at any time that you want. Last year, we had a budget of $40,000 for professional development salaries, and that goes to teachers who want to do presentations or to do a workshop day, and they need planning time, and we pay them for the planning time. We don't pay them duplicative for the time that they're in school doing presentations, but for any planning time. So I'm going to propose a reduction of that to $25,000 for next year, because this year we were able to have greater access to Title II funds. And I've worked with Ellen, our grants manager, and she feels that we can sufficiently cover the gap with the Title II funds, which also have a timeline by which they need to be used. So that would be that recommendation. The other budget line item are curriculum salaries, and that's when we have educators put in proposals for curriculum work that's done over the summer. And typically they put in for anywhere from like 5 to 15 hours of curriculum work, which is really beneficial because there's a lot of updating of curriculum that needs to happen, development of rubrics, et cetera. We had 33 educators do curriculum work this past summer. Again, working with our grants manager, we feel that we can bring that number down to 21,000, and we figured out all of the salaries and the benefit, like all of the different minutia of that. So we have a total reduction of 44,000 from the CIA salary accounts. Now we're getting into the ELA pilots. We started off with 8 different programs that we vetted for taking a really close look at. Then we brought that down to 6 programs. We had contractors, or not necessarily contractors, but the companies come and do face-to-face presentations with all of the programs. We had physical materials that they sent us. We really dug very, very, very deeply into all the different programs. We looked at what programs are being used across the state and across the nation. And we also looked at something called Ed Reports, which is a nationwide resource for in-depth look at programs and if they're vetted based on standards, based on accessibility, and based on the science of reading. And so some were immediately eliminated because they did not meet the standard of the science of reading. And additionally, there is an RSA that requires us to adopt a program that is aligned to the science of reading by the start of September, unfunded mandate, but by the start of the school year 2027. So it's not only is it necessary because currently we do not have an ELA program, a comprehensive K through 6 program. We have pieces and bits of a program that are mostly focused on phonics, but we are lacking any program that's comprehensive, that teaches vocabulary, knowledge, content, etc. So we have 26 educators. The piloting group is separate from the group that the ELA group made up of about 30 people, which included administrators that did the final decision to choose these two programs to pilot. Then we went out to educators and buildings and said who in grade 1, 3, 5, and 6 would like to do the pilot, and teachers volunteered to do that, and they're currently in that process right now.
Pam, how many educators will be affected with this new program? We have 26 piloting it. How many will be actually using it?
All teachers K through
And
6.
how many is that, roughly?
How many teachers do we have K through 6?
For ELA.
Well, a
Well,
class of
in
teachers.
elementary, it's all the teachers, but in grade 6, it's not all
Just
the
two
teachers in grade
teachers
6.
in grade 6.
Just a rough idea if you had one.
I thought one of the programs was an acronym like CKLA. Is that
It is.
the
It's owned
same
by
as
Amplify.
Okay.
And my view, my perspective is owned by Sabis.
So 80,
Some may be
approximately 84.
Some may be unified arts or school counselors, so
Okay.
somewhere's in that ballpark.
And at any point, do the 26 that are piloting present the program to the rest so that they all are aware and
Yeah.
have some buy-in? Or is it just sort of, this is what we're doing and?
No. So the way we did the pilot was, say, for example, there's a teacher at third grade at Beaver Meadow School and another teacher at third grade. Both of them, each of them are doing a different program. And then we've asked them to visit each other's classrooms, look at the program. We've asked multilingual learner educators to go in and look at the programs. Special educators have had their own professional development. We have had on-site professional development from both of these companies, Sabis and Amplify. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, the word I hear from principals is that the teachers are thrilled and either program is great.
So if I'm a teacher that's not piloting a program, do I have an opportunity while someone in my school is piloting it to go in and learn about it while they're piloting it?
You have that opportunity, but we also have materials. We have second grade materials, so we've been rotating those around the buildings and providing teachers with opportunities to go through the materials.
That's great. So when we get a recommendation to the instructional committee and then to the full board, we're not talking about 26 people that have made this decision. We're talking about everybody that's invested, has had an opportunity to weigh in on it in some way.
I have a survey going out for everyone who's piloting to fill out and talk about how well it's aligned to standards, what's the student engagement like, how the students are doing in terms of progress, those types of questions. We've asked the reading specialists to be the point person to gather that other information from the other staff, and we've also asked the other staff to go in and visit. Now, that being said, we are pulling the original committee together at the beginning of April and gathering all that data. That I have a survey out there. We'll look at the data and we'll have people do presentations about both programs. And at the end, I'm asking the elementary principals and myself to make the final decision based on all the feedback, not arbitrarily.
Thank you.
So the goal was to make a recommendation to the school board for adoption for next year. The program will be purchased for 5 years. The approximate cost of the adoption, because what I did was got quotes from each of the two companies, is about $750,000 for 5 years. That being said, we worked with one company who's willing to cut that in half and do a split payment over 2 years.
So, but does that mean if we go to year 6, it's another $150,000? So it's
We would have to pay
$150,000 a
again
year roughly?
when the 5-year subscription runs up.
So the pattern in Concord has been a 5-year adoption, and that's really recommended because it takes 5 years to see see student growth and to understand a program and to make sure you have the professional development. So with the iReady Math, we did a 5-year adoption. And then typically what you do is you go back and look at the standards and then do a review of the program and you make a determination whether this is the right program.
The 5 years makes sense. It's just more understanding of this is a subscription.
The recurring cost is the concern, that it's not like we buy the curriculum and it's ours,
Like
and
a
we
textbook.
decide how long we want to use it for. It's after 5 years, we have to
It's like
pay
buying-
again and pay
buying the
again.
virtual workbooks
Right.
again.
Or a 5-year license for IT, or, yeah.
And this is covered by the instructional trust. So
Yes.
this would not be going into the budget.
Correct.
Well, it is in the budget, but it's not coming out of general
General funds, it's coming out of trust funds.
So when you were asking about that supply line, that is one of the lines. That's why that's $1,000,000 up, because that part of that amount is in the supply. It's the books, actually.
Books and
Okay,
supplies
so
and equipment.
that's where that pays is, and the offset is the revenue you have coming in from the trust fund. But we dropped that down to, I think, 375 from $1,000,000 for, what was it?
From the 750,
Yeah.
yeah. The companies have been really, really great to work with and they understand that there's budgetary concerns. And when we were able to get on a Zoom with them, they're like, how can we help you out?
And this will cover no matter how many students we have in those grades, or is it a certain number of licenses?
We gave them the number of students at each grade level. So
Okay,
it is.
so if that goes down or up, do we get a discount?
Yeah.
Do we have to pay
Yeah,
more if it goes up?
They'll do adjustments
Okay,
annually.
without additional costs?
Right, which is similar to when we adopted the iReady Math program. You'll see every year, it's like roughly, 90,000, but then it'll dip and go up within a range of about 10,000 because of enrollment.
Okay.
Just one more question.
Yep.
And how much do these programs rely on tablets or screens?
So what I have said to them is we are not going to purchase their assessment programs because we already have iReady. And we'll just continue to use iReady 3 times a year as a benchmark, kind of a marker for student progress, which is nationally normed. So I don't want to have, for example, one of the programs use something called Success Maker as their assessment software. I said, nope, take it out. We don't want that. So in terms of on-screen time, it's mostly teachers interacting with students with real-life books.
Have we explored? I'm sorry. Did I?
Go ahead.
Have we explored open source?
Open Hardcourt?
Because I know there's some districts out there, and I don't know if there's what research looks like on it, but moving to open source.
We did,
curriculum
that's not
text.
one of the ones we selected. I can go on to Ed Reports, but we really picked the top 6 programs and also looked for, people visited other districts and.
Should we look at one open source company, like not, or organization versus?
We didn't look at open source.
Okay.
Because they didn't rank high on the sort of.
Right.
Well, open source is an organization, it's open source textbooks, so like the community colleges I'm in, it's free materials. And
Right.
It's usually peer reviewed, all of that.
Okay. Can look into that more. I'm not sure if they have an ELA,
They do.
that program.
It's,
Okay.
well, open source is not a company, it's a type of text.
Yeah.
And curriculum.
Is
it's
that related to
sources.
Open Up, Tim?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not familiar with them,
Okay.
Jess. Sorry, but we can definitely look into
Okay.
it.
I'll give you, like, for example, I teach anthropology, right? And so
Yep.
we switched over to open source textbooks. They provide all the curricula, all the text, all the supplementary for free. It's mostly philanthropic.
It's open source?
It's open source curriculum. And there's texts, different companies or different organizations do it for different grade levels. I'm used to OpenStax. OpenStax, though, is usually, it's high school to college, but there are elementary school level ones.
Yeah. And what Kim was asking me, there's a program we had adopted at the high school for algebra that was open up, and I don't know if that comes through open source. I didn't.
I'll look. I'll be curious later too. I'll see,
Yeah.
and I could ask some.
Yeah, I can definitely check into that.
I'm in school for education right now,
Yeah.
so I could ask some of the structures in there too, as far as
Okay.
the curriculum and all of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Happy to.
Yeah, and all of the programs that we're looking at are very heavily research-based, and you have really good Ed Reports, so I'll check on Ed Reports as well. So the high school and some of the elementary teachers are currently using what's called Open Up, which is a free resource for algebra instruction and geometry, and they were really concerned with the program that they're using. I have to say that it's a free math program, and they've been using free math programs since 2014. They were feeling that that program is not adequate, that they're not seeing the results that they'd like to see with students' performance. And so we started this fall looking at various programs for Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and geometry. When we started to look at, we probably looked at about 5 programs, and the algebra teachers and geometry teachers really felt that only one program hit their mark in terms of what they wanted to explore, to pilot. So they're currently piloting a program called Carnegie Math, very, very, very well-researched program. Has some really good components to it in terms of providing students with immediate feedback, corrective practices, and so the cost for that is $316,500. Now, this pilot is currently, it's right at the end stages of its pilot, and I do not have feedback from the educators who are piloting. There are about 20 educators piloting it, and 5 have responded. And I will say that what I thought was going to happen was that they're going to say this is an excellent, excellent program. If they don't come back and say it's an excellent program, it's off the board. It's not even going to be considered. And it could also not be considered for another year, given the stress with the budget. Nonetheless, they have a program, whereas ELA does not have a program. They have a program, it's just not a great program. So I have a survey out to them, and I just wanted to show you the number that I came up with for the impact of these curriculum adoptions. Again, you see the 750,000, which we can break into 375 over for 2 years if we choose so to do that. The 316,000, I can't justify that until I have the survey results back from educators,
But
which
it's currently in the budget coming from the instructional trust.
Correct.
and we have a meeting next Thursday to say thumbs up, thumbs down. And if it's lukewarm, we're not doing it. Okay, it's got to be a great program. It's got to make a difference. We had talked about, one of the principals had asked if we could bring the iReady diagnostic, which is given 3 times a year, the math, not the reading, down to grade 2 in order to get more information for 3rd grade teachers about how the math performance is doing, given that they're using the same program. That's still a tentative request. And 7th grade this year at Runlet Middle School piloted, they had a lot of jealousy about what was going on in 6th grade with the iReady math program, and they're like, well, wait a second, what are you guys doing over there? And they asked to pilot it and found it to be very favorable. The cost for that is $18,000. Nonetheless, I want to say a little caveat to that is that tomorrow I'm going to have a conversation with Jack because our enrollment numbers have gone down, that price point might be negligible.
The 7th grade iReady math, though, is not a pre-algebra program.
Right.
And I thought our goal as a district is to have all 8th graders, or most 8th graders taking math, algebra in 8th grade. So why would we be investing in a non-algebra, pre-algebra program for 7th graders?
So 7th grade would be the precursor to the all 8th graders being in algebra, or as many as possible being in algebra. And if you have any input, Jay, as well, you're welcome to, but this would be the program that would prepare the students for algebra.
You
in
just
8th
said
grade.
it's not a pre-algebra program.
It's not pre-algebra, but
It has the skill sets. It
Okay.
has the skill sets to prepare students for algebra.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. Do you have any input on that?
semantics.
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
I mean, this program will prepare all students to possibly take Algebra 1 and 8th grade.
I
So-
like hearing that you're saying that you won't bring the math to us unless we're sure. I don't want it to be sort of a situation where it's the best of the worst.
Yeah.
You know, we want to make sure it's the best.
Especially for the schedule learning.
Exactly.
And
Just, you know, slide
Although it
forward.
sounds like we're using the worst now, so.
well, what's happened? Oh, go ahead,
I
Jess.
just wanted, just so you know, what I was talking about, all of these Carnegie Your Weekend Open Up, those are all open source. It's free sources, so that's, if that helps at all.
Gotcha.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you, Jess. What I will say with the Open Up, it was a free program, our curriculum. The teachers have, over the past 3 years, really gone through it thoroughly. Correct things, change scope and sequence to align with standards and stuff that they're required to cover in different courses and whatnot. And and when they first got it, it was a bad program. It was not a great program. It was not well liked, but they knew they needed to do something different. And I think the sentiments of the group is, if we're just going to pick another bad program, we'd rather stick with the one that we've adjusted enough that we understand now, we have it to the scope and sequence we need, we've adjusted the assessments. At least we know the areas we have to supplement to improve the experience for students. Bringing in another program that may fall short is just, I don't think they have the endurance to go through adjusting another curriculum, so.
And I do have to say that with Open Up, it was a huge lift, and Open Up is done by Illustrative Math, is the company, and it has many, many different authors. So you could have some kids having 8th grade, and then in 9th grade, all of a sudden, it's a different author, and then in 10th grade, it's a different author. So it's not a program that I would recommend. However, as Tim said, that there's been some really
3
good
years of work on it.
collaboration, to make it work, so.
Yeah, between middle right through high school, working on that curriculum.
And then the question was asked on Monday night, what would we eliminate if we purchased an ELA program? And the savings would be $165,000 a year for 2 programs that we can eliminate or purchase through Title I as a Tier 2 program. That would be
Could you explain what a Tier 2 program is?
Sure.
Just-
So we have 3 tiers. We have Tier 1, which is instruction for all students, regardless of their ability. And then we have a Tier 2, which is students who might need a little extra support, which would be considered would be considered our Title I population, and any other students who need some reteaching. And our Tier 3 would be our special education population. So currently, we don't have a strong Tier 2 program, so things like Foundations and Hegarty, the 2 programs we would eliminate, we could offer schools to purchase through their Title I funds as a reteach.
Is that $165,000 per year or a
Yes.
one-time $165,000
That would
per
be,
year?
well, if we didn't, it's definitely for next year.
Right.
And then we just wouldn't be purchasing it. so.
I'm asking, it's an annual cost that we're avoiding,
Yeah,
not
we
a
would be
one-time cost.
paying that
Yeah.
$165 a year for a variety of programs
Right.
to make up a reading program.
So the new program would actually be a little less money.
And one thing I wanted to mention too is we currently don't have a writing program, and which is hard on teachers. You could appreciate that, Brenda. The one we had is no longer vetted by Ed Reports and no longer recommended at all. It's not aligned to the science of reading.
And it was really hard to teach.
Really, the Lucy Calkins program. So both of these programs include writing, daily writing instruction, spelling, vocabulary, content, knowledge building, phonics, phonemic awareness. It's a comprehensive package.
Any other questions? Okay. Any other business for this evening? Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Took a while, and then everybody did it at once. I'm going to give it to Ms. Sadowski.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Higgins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. See you all next Monday.